It's good to see you, Zach.
You too, man.
How are things with you? Things all right?
Pretty crazy. I'm about to have a baby.
How like
in 8 weeks.
Oh
So
gosh.
he's coming in fresh. He's currently called Zeus, but I don't think that's going to last. So that's pretty hectic. And it's not at all a serious pressure to put on a tiny child to be the god of gods. I see no problem. So, lean in.
Have you ever been to Mexico? Do you know how many people call Jesus there? Have you
Just lean in, mate.
Muhammad is the most common name ever. Right. So people have no problem naming their children after, very revered people.
Exactly.
It's fine.
But at least Zeus has got a dope beard. So.
And lightning bolts?
And lightning bolts.
Yeah.
He's currently lightning bolting my wife
man.
Kicking her all over the shop.
This is your first baby?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I can fill you in. I did another podcast with Charlie Clausen called Dad Pod, which is all about this, but I'll tell you like straight up, take snacks. You could be there for a lot longer than you think you are.
Yeah.
Absolutely, positively, do not yawn.
Don't yawn.
No. Pack.
Wow.
Get all those Boss coffee cans you can.
Yeah.
Don't yawn.
Just like toothpicks in the
Mate,
eyeballs.
if she sees you, she's like, what? No. Like she is doing the max one rep max of all. It is.
Yeah. The lift.
It is the most profoundly incredible thing you've ever witnessed. It is
can't wait.
Unbelievable. No wonder, patriarchy exists because people went, oh God, women can do that. Well, let's make sure they don't fucking figure out how to run things because we're fucked.
Yeah.
It's the best day of life.
Wow.
And when you hold them and your skin's on them, there's a pheromonal conversation that happens between the two of you. And it's the first time after the age of 25 that you get a burst of brain growth. You grow more neurons. It's the only time in your life to help you deal with the extra logistics of this child.
I need that.
I've
been pruning for years. Just to add, give me some volume, please, God.
It's so good to have you on the show. Last time we spoke was under my house in the old studio, which is still my office, but it's not as spacious as this is. And we're on day 6 of Movember, and I'm real undergunned compared to you.
Man, my wife said, "Get that chin out of my house."
Oh dear.
She's just because my beard is pretty voluminous, and it's hard to know what's underneath sometimes.
Yeah.
And she's not into it, and I go, "Men's health, mate. How dare you?"
You go straight from Movember to December beard.
Oh yeah, December.
Oh
exactly.
yeah, just go. You roll straight through.
Yeah,
and there it comes. All right,
naturally.
What's that NBA player James Harden? Like no one's seen his face.
No.
In 15 years. What does he look like?
We've got so Dan Repicoli, who's a minister in the Hunter. He's the special envoy on men's health. The biggest fucking beard you've ever seen in your life, like 12 years growth.
Yeah, proper bushranger, yeah.
He shaved it last Friday for us, and his children are screaming because they've never seen him. They have no idea who this guy is. Yeah.
What's going on with that?
It's scary stuff. I'm into it. It's the magic. There's also Halloween. Like, just lean in.
Yes. This is a lot has happened in the space of men's health, particularly men's mental health. Since we last caught up, you had done a huge report. You released another report last year. This is what you do.
Spilling ink for a living.
This is what you do, though.
Yeah.
This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the money goes
for sure.
For Movember is not. Well, what do we do with this cash? We make huge differences, and Movember have gone leaps and bounds in changing how research is done in the prostate cancer space. Well, it's something that you've done in the last, since we've seen each other. You're like, wow, this is big.
Well, this is the funny thing that it's like this month is for doing chats like this, and the rest of the year we work, and people don't understand. It's like that's where the funds go. And I'm not the one making decisions. We've got governance, like, this legit 24-year-old business. We've worked out how to make decisions that are actually going to trickle down into men's lives. But something that, we've focused on pretty heavily, and I'm sure you've got plenty of thoughts on this, is the Manosphere. We spent a lot of time looking at men and masculinity influences, and I can talk about the research that we did looking at how young men are engaging online, what their worlds look like. Really specifically trying to get away from this deficit-based, everything is fucking broken, everyone is toxic, it's just a bad idea for engaging young men in a conversation. And we actually also moved away specifically from the term Manosphere, because I think last time we chatted, we were really going deep on that because it was so early and lots of this stuff was blossoming. But we got to the point where we realized that it's so mainstream that the term Manosphere, which was derived from this notion of like incels and MRAs, men's rights activists, for instance, and pickup artists, it's like that is the least of our problem at the moment. It's now like this proliferation of content where a 15, 16-year-old kid is going on TikTok or otherwise and within seconds is being fed. It's funny because it goes from innocuous to harmful so quickly.
Yeah.
And so we've done a lot of work on that, which I can talk about. We're also now focusing on AI and trying to understand the way in which guys of all ages are using AI for health information, therapy or otherwise. So online gaming, we're still doing a lot of that. And then we're really focusing on the health system in an ongoing way to build it in a way that's going to fundamentally, manifestly, help guys when they come in for help.
A lot of the focus is on people who are at risk, which is quite often young men who are, I don't know, they're in the body of an adult and they're 13 years old, 12 years old. I was as tall and big as I was. I think I was 13 or 14 when I was this big. I didn't grow any further. So I've been this huge since then. But with the brain of a child, and you can get into some problems. Thank God I didn't have, a dopamine machine in my hand with all of the porn and, everything. Who knows where I would have ended up. For work, I have to post stuff on these platforms. I see no, my last name's Ginsberg, right? Why are you feeding me this?
But you've got critical insight because you're not a digital native. Like you can go, oh, I remember a world where this shit wasn't ruining my life.
And I'm an immigrant. You know that. You're sending me to some guy who's, lifting weights and talking about how Australia's for Australians. Like, what?
But it's terrifying to see how quickly, if you lean into the right narratives and you get a guy in an isolated space, you weaponize his attention, you commercialize, and you really start to see that young men specifically go, well, no one cares about me. I'm not valued. I don't matter. Mattering is something that we're starting to think about a lot more, not in, atomic terms, but in this idea of like, why am I here? What do I have to offer? And when the messaging, the coding around masculinity is so broken and deficient, young guys are going, oh, this guy's promising me the world. They don't fucking deliver. But I'll tell you what they do. They pull you in. They say, I've got a, 12-step guide for you. Follow this. And when things start to go poorly, isolate yourself from all of the, smart people in your world who might actually shake you and blame women and girls, blame migrants, blame everyone else, even though I am the source of your anger and confusion because I've taken your money, I've taken your time, I've disconnected you from your friends. It's this dangerous cycle where they actually pull, it's a cult. So I do think that we're going to have to find a way to engage and empower the user to understand that this isn't in their best interests. And like myth busting with young guys, they'll listen to 3.5-hour podcasts because they want like critical insight. And so it's like, what matters to them? What values do they have? And how can we turn those up? Because they don't want to be ripped off. They don't want to be taken advantage of. They actually think they're getting a secret. And if we can show them that the real secret is that Tate's University is a piece of shit and it's taking all your money and not offering anything, and this is how the model works. No one is actually attempting to pull the curtain back and say, hey, 15-year-old guy, because they're telling us, they're like, oh, we see this misogynistic crap and I leave that at the door, or the homophobic stuff. I don't want that, but I watch him because he's entertaining. And the fact that entertainment and like motivation and this idea of like optimism, you can be anything, growth, it's beautiful. It's powerful. We want more of that. But it's the fact that it always comes with the shadow. Which is that in order to succeed, someone else has to suffer. In order to do this, you must do this. And I actually think that is the real issue here, which is that that's not made visible to these young guys, what they're actually losing out. Because the people who watch more of this stuff, the people who engage more, have more traditional masculine values, they end up being much more isolated. Their mental health is way worse. Their physical health is way worse. the amount of time directly you spend on this stuff, the worse you're going to, feel.
For people who have, listened to what you just said and they're thinking about a young person in their life, you mentioned something before which is really important. Like anybody, but particularly young men who are in those kind of teenage years where, what's going on? You said it's important that they feel like they matter. How can we make the young men in our life feel like they matter?
I'd love you to think about yourself, because I'm reflecting back on, 13, 14, 15-year-old Zach. I thought I fucking knew everything. I did. But in
fact, I've got a PhD right now, so have that, Mrs. Johnson.
Yeah. Mate, don't get me started on my school teachers. I went back and looked at my reports the other day and I was like, honestly though, because it did have a very like, oh, he's inattentive, he runs around sometimes. And it's like, and then there was one teacher who saw my strengths and saw my mattering. And he was like, this is what you're capable of.
Yeah, right.
And there was kindness and curiosity fundamentally. And parents, I think, because they are fundamentally out of their depth, they are not willing to admit they don't know.
Yeah.
And so they are leaning into punitive measures.
Uh-huh.
And that is just the worst way to engage a young person. It's like, don't drink, don't smoke, let's just lock the door. You lock the door, we watched Adolescence, we see how, locking the door, what happens there.
Yeah.
You need to express the fact that you're trying to work this shit out as well, and you want to work it out alongside them. Mattering to them means showing them that you value their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That if they're watching Tate, you don't go, give me your phone, I'm deleting everything. You say, what's happening? What does that feel like? Why are you watching that? Do you enjoy it? What do you not? Leave the judgment at the door. Find a way to connect with his lived experience. Without that, you're just saying, I am right, you are wrong. And all that does is isolate him further into the darkness.
The other thing that these tech companies are making money off is pretty much isolating young men and young women, but isolating young people and almost stripping them of the experiences that they need to have in-person interactions, because it's a simulacrum of life right here. I get to have it without leaving my house, but it's not the same. So if we're noticing a young person in our life has started, doesn't have that many mates or is starting to isolate and not wanting to go out on weekends and hang with people, what can we do? Because they're not going to hang out with us.
I think that the interesting thing around that is, the likes of Rogan and others, young guys always tell us sitting and watching this stuff makes them feel like they have friends. They're watching guys in a room, hanging out, smoking joints, having a good time. And they're like, there's this cultural relevancy. There's this feeling of connection, but it washes away very quickly. There's actually no depth to it. And lots of these guys are watching this content in order to be relevant, in order to have things to say, but they don't have anyone to say it to. And so I actually think that if we can get to the point where, offline, now the fact that we talk about online, offline is crazy. The fact that young people specifically are spending more time online than they are with real people is like the worst 2030 video I've ever seen, It's like, what happened to the Jetsons? Why don't we have flying cars and everyone's happy? The idea of what modernism, professed to offer us, I think this is a failed social experiment. And the social media ban is an example of us trying to, we're very good at regulating in Australia. Other countries I don't think are really going to follow, but a few might. We need to understand that you have to, if you're going to create these open slather new worlds for people to inhabit, you need to consider the ramifications of that. You need to consider how history has always gone and the fact that tech is not always good. And there are some people who are not willing to admit that. But tech can be very good for specific things. It's going to, from a biological perspective, we're going to cure disease through AI. There's so many benefits here. It's offering therapy to people in regional areas who could never see anybody. Awesome, awesome stuff. But unfettered access, 24 hours a day, non-regulated, very worrying. So what can we do in the offline world with our kids specifically to be and I think that comes down to finding a way to create connective tissue with them. I know you ride with your kids, you go and, doing like physical activities which are away, creating bonding that feels good for you and them, not doing what you think they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's just the MO across the board, which is that parents decide this is how my childhood was, this is what they value, but you are working against the pokey machines, in their heads.
In their pockets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it will pull them. You feel it every morning. I feel my fucking phone talking to me.
Oh, and it pains me to say this, but I'm not a perfect parent. And yes, my son's has an iPad every now and again. But I've seen what it's like when it's time to turn off, this or that. It looks like withdrawal. He now suddenly he's got this huge crash, this giant, dopamine crash, and he's acts out and he's freaked out, and he's only 6. And so we get around him and we try to help him out like that. But if you've got a man-sized version of that, which, let's be honest, I was 15 years old bumping into things, man. I wasn't very insightful. Just keep watching it, mate. Just keep freaking watching. I understand why people just go, no. Just keep doing that thing, because when you stop doing that thing, it's horrible for everybody. It's easier if you just do that thing. But by letting him just do that thing, what they're missing out on is just years of getting it right, getting it wrong, figuring out what another person,
how to date, how to be rejected, how to,
oh my gosh,
anything.
And that's the real thing. I mean, there's young women in my life, that I know through my stepdaughter, and they don't really have boyfriends.
No.
Like, guys don't ask them out.
But this is where, have you heard the term heterofatalism?
Tell me about this.
What's this idea?
I don't know if I want to know about it. Like, this is the last moment of my life. I don't know about this. Hit me.
This is the saddest, social cohesion manifestation that you can see, which is this idea that young women are like, I don't want a bar of this. I have no desire. There's too much risk. They don't ask me questions. They have completely different political ideologies to me. I'm going to red flag the shit out of everyone. Like, that's a horrible reality to be living in.
Yeah.
I don't say that I blame them. I think that we need to find a new communication style. If, we used to have this Venn diagram where not only young people and middle-aged people would have an overlap in their media diets, but young women and young men would have a massive overlap. We would see the same stuff. We would watch the same things, play the same games, etc. Yeah. We're now at the point where they don't touch. Yeah. These circles do not touch. And how do you expect to put them in the same room when they have been told that the other is dangerous, that the other is stupid and conservative and whatever it might be? My issue really with the way in which we're framing this whole thing is that it's not truth. Like, talking about young men and young women in these homogenous blobs is so at odds with the reality of what's happening on the ground. But when you put those stories out into the world, we now have a self-fulfilling prophecy.
You're right.
And we have, and this, I've spoken on various podcasts which I know young women are listening to.
Hang on, you see other podcasters? I thought
you're my main squeeze.
This is like,
don't worry.
Who the fuck is Madeline? This is like it's like the Lily Allen record.
I know. Well, you invited me to your house once, and
I
then
did.
You didn't invite me back.
My wife knew you were there.
Now we have to be seen in public spaces. That's how this works. We will do the sauna next.
But you never said yes to my sauna invitation.
I know. I know.
Look, wait, what's
It'll
up?
happen next time in Budgies for no
every
cameras.
night in Budgies, man. Every night. Sorry.
So you
have had these conversations in public.
Around and young women are like, I don't want to do the work on behalf of the guy that I'm sitting across from.
Yeah.
Totally fair. I think that, this idea of emotion regulation and, finding a sense of self and value and et cetera is young men's work to do, but we're not really offering them a pipeline to get there. We're not offering them a pathway. We're not offering them models to do so.
So what does that look like? How can we help young men in these pipelines? What is the model of masculinity that these young guys can aspire to?
We talk about role models. I do not believe that's the panacea here. I'm moving very far away from that. I think just putting another footy player on a pedestal for him to fall off does not do any favors for masculinity. I think I also am moving away from the term masculinity and towards manhood.
Yeah, nice.
It's iterative, it's evolution, it's growth, it's a ongoing state, you know? It's not like a static, do you have it or do you not?
So let me ask you this. What's the difference between boyhood and manhood? What are the things that we want to develop to grow into manhood?
I think that's kind of the difference between childhood and adulthood. And when it comes to being a man, I actually think it's about expanding from self to other. That's what I think healthy manhood should be, which is like the narcissist, which is the child. Give me ice cream. I need this. I need that. My needs come first. To when you move into your mid-teens, you get to the point where you say, oh, my parents have thoughts and feelings. I might need to respond differently. Oh, there's a girl over there. I might need to, ask for consent. All of these types of things, questions come into play. And I think that the positive, healthy manhood is going, project outward, look at everyone but yourself and see how they're responding to you and internalize that rather than what I think currently happens, which is this, let's close up shop. Because I've been told that this is the only way to be. And so you actually don't take in those beams that are coming from the world.
Any kind of information that might give you a clue that what you're doing might not be getting you where you want to go. Not saying it's wrong, but if you want this job, this partner, not to be yelled at to make more money, I don't know, maybe it's you.
But it's funny because a certain type, like you look at goals. Goals is the best way from a therapist's perspective. Is like to get young men to fucking do anything. It's like, what do you want to achieve here? And they say, I want to make $1 million by this time. I want a girlfriend, etc. All of those things you can frame in a way that's like, all right, if you're the dickhead who walks into the club, shouldering everyone, demanding that seat, asking for a drink, pushing people away, no girl is coming up to you. No. Like, look at the end game.
Yeah.
And I think that if we can get to the point where we reframe the idea that nice guys finish first, because they do in the end. And this, I now go into schools and I'm like, all right, let's talk about, because we talk about manhood, masculinity, and there's always some guy like snickering in the back. And I'm not here to police or shame because that's the worst way to get behavior to change. So I'm just, curious. I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, he's a pussy. He was saying this thing about his sister. And I'm like, all right, so you think you're the alpha, or at least everyone, because everyone was cowering around this kid. And I just looked him in the eye. I'm like, this hierarchy will not hold for you.
Yeah.
You think you're on top. This is a fucking deck of cards. It's all over, mate. Yeah. So understanding the long game and going to these young guys, you want power, you want privilege, you want a partner, whatever it might be. This is the surefire way to have longevity in the game, not wake up at 30 and be like, what have I done?
To be an asset to others, to be seen as an asset, to be seen as useful to others.
Service.
Gives you value to them, and versus to be seen as like, I need others to get what I want. Well, others aren't going to help you for very long. You might work for a little while. Yeah. That guy leads schools like, oh, there's bigger, scarier people who just got.
And I didn't learn anything to do that. Yeah, and I don't have any real mates.
Yeah. All I know how to do is be combative, probably because I hurt inside. But now I'm in a lot of trouble.
But the hurting inside, it's like, how do you give them access to that in a way that's not?
Yeah,
it's going to be scary. It's always going to be scary. But if you can like normalize it as the way. As you can suggest that there is no way to becoming a man without doing that work, without feeling those things, without talking to other guys about it. I just think that needs to be sold as the norm,
What are some ways that we can have our young men, and particularly like if you've been raised by a dad who only knows what he knows, but knows that what he knows probably isn't great, but he doesn't know where to start.
Yeah.
Like what's the thing that a dad or a mum might be able to do for that young kid?
For sure. So, John Haidt speaks about this a lot when he's talking about social media and trying to curb screen time. peers are everything, especially to young guys. The fear of ostracism is what leads them to do bad shit. Fundamentally, even if it's at odds with their desires, they will enact a certain behavior. They'll laugh at a sexist joke. They'll beat up the, nerd, whatever it might be, in order to feel like they belong. And it's strange because that resentment that they actually feel for themselves, they put it on others, and then shame gets externalized, and it ends up in this really dangerous cycle where they go, I actually hate myself, but I'm never going to admit that. I'm just going to keep beating the shit out of others. And so what you can do is, rather than trying to address this stuff in your child in isolation, do it with the group. If you can get the 5 other parents who are amenable to this and start a dads and sons activity of some kind, because it norms it then, and he's not just a weirdo who's hanging out with his dad doing this thing, going out bush, whatever it might be. And we don't need to lean into rites of passage in the formal sense, but connection is always, attachment is at the core of our human needs. It's all young guys want. And so if you can firm that up for them and show them that, because they often think, if I hang out with my dad, I'm losing something else.
Yeah.
If you can say, no, we're going to bring around your mates as well, and we're going to find a way to make this restorative and fun and whatever else. I just think that that's the way. And when you're on those activities, as I said at the start, tell your kid that you don't know what's fucking happening. Tell them, because we could be in our 30s, 40s, 50s, it doesn't matter, that we are on the journey with them. That I didn't have anxiety or depression. I have it. It's a part of me. I'm living with it. I'm learning with it. And I went through what, we always do this thing. I went through what you went through when I was a teenager. So much past tense. I'm the master now. I've overcome these things. Yeah. When in fact you still walk into a new workplace and you're like a 15-year-old in the schoolyard.
Oh yeah.
Same thing.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Let's figure this out.
The messiness of manhood.
Yeah.
It's beautiful,
It is the idea of the peer group thing. And this is what I saw in G, she had her schoolmates, but then because she was so heavily involved in dance school, she went to 2 dance schools, she had this whole other peer group. And it was wonderful because I never saw her get caught up in any malarkey through fear of, well, I don't want to be on the outer. It was like, okay, well, those other girls are going after this thing and I'm, no.
Yeah.
Trying to have that, another peer group outside of the main kind of gang that they hang with.
Because you get locked in. Yeah. You get locked in a hierarchy. You're that guy. It's the same thing with siblings. It's you can be 40 and you come home for Christmas and you're all in the same role immediately. And the same thing happens with the 5 guys. It's here's the larrikin and here's the this. Yeah. And everyone plays these roles, which is just, you have no room to move. And that's why you'll always get someone who just fucks off to India. Yeah. And then they come back and it's we can't talk to him anymore because he's suddenly actually evolved or found, a new part of himself, and he doesn't fit into our jigsaw puzzle anymore. Right. So I actually like that idea of, and that's kind of what Movember actually attempts to do, which is I always witness during this month that the groups of guys who come together for whatever their yearly, crazy, let's mow lawnmowers for the Guinness World Record, whatever, they don't actually know each other. And it's they've now got a shared purpose and a shared activity and whatever else it might be. We can talk about, social disconnection and isolation and loneliness, which is just the thing that is a part, sadly, of masculinity, really. To become a man is to lose things. Uh-huh. It's a process of grief. And I think that that's something that I believe we can turn around. But at the moment, it's you go from being a 5-year-old with an incredible spectrum of emotionality, with wanting to be everyone's best friend. You come home from daycare every day and you're like, oh my God, he's my best friend.
You sing and dance.
You sing and
you're
dance.
You're a triple threat.
You sing and dance, exactly.
And act.
You wear tutus, you do whatever you want to do.
Absolutely.
And then there are these inflection points where you witness the policing, you witness the risk, you witness this shame and embarrassment, which is like the DNA of masculinity in Australia. And you cauterize parts of yourself, you lesion it, you get rid of these beautiful elements. You know, I think of it in some ways in the same way that lots of gay guys have to, you know, be in the closet for an extended period of time. There are just different closets, you know? And it's not about these groups, these identities. It's about your true self, your authentic self. And I think that the mask that we wear is so at odds with our authentic self. And if you look back, and I think so many parents are grieving when they watch their son go from 5 to 10 to 15.
Yeah.
And it's as if that this is a natural process, because young women go through something similar, they become snarky, etc. But they actually seem to expand their world. And lots of young guys, it narrows.
Yeah.
I don't think that is how it used to be, and I don't think it's necessary.
When I was at the North Avoca Surf Club, or the Avoca Beach Surf Club with Heggie after a storytelling show we did up there, they have the photos all around the walls, and it looks like it was Movember all year round. Like it's like just men with like slabs, pectorals, like it's huge surfboats, hair. There's no fucking clippers on their chest or anything. It's just like back hair, everything. And Heggie pointed at, and he goes, men like that used to bring people together. And it really struck me. It really, really struck me as that's what manhood was I am a man. I mean, social roles are very clear, far more clearly defined in a time when everyone had a mustache all year round. So there was, you know, I am a protector, I'm a provider. This is what my role is here, and this is what I do. I know where my duty starts and stops. And it was a thing that had its benefits, had its side effects. But where's the lines now? Where's the role? I earn less than my partner. You know, I don't know. My kid wants me to call him a non-specific name. I don't know what to do now. I can't.
But this is the idea that flux is bad, and I think that, you know, this gender reckoning of like modern and traditional ideologies clashing is frightening, and so everyone returns to what they know or what they've seen, as if that was always in our best interests. It wasn't. We look at our dads or our grandfathers and we're like, there are parts of this that I want to take on, and there is plenty that I want to end with me. And I think we lose
dads
sight of that.
would walk in the door.
Yeah.
You know,
food table now.
Yeah, food table now, cigarette, you shut up, you shut up, you shut up. I don't want to hear it.
Let me talk about my day.
Whiskey, bed.
Yep. Someone else put them to bed. Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. My grandma's now like, oh, my brother's got two girls, and she's like, oh my God, you're such a active father. Because he cooks and she literally cannot conceptualize it. And that's to say that these roles are so deeply ingrained that plenty of women are like, oh, this is where the trad wife movement has come from, you know, in so many ways. And so I think that we can get to a point where you don't have to throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah.
It is good to have roles and responsibilities. And there are these core elements of altruism and service and connection and finding ways, you know, to have this idea of growth and self-development. They don't need to be only tied to masculinity. Plenty of women do it. They do it in whatever way they see fit. But I do think that there has to be a 21st century where we say the modern man looks different, feels different, acts different, and still feels.
Yeah.
Still feels like a man, still looks like a man, and is able to show up in whatever way he sees fit.
There was a moment at the end of the State of Origin this year, which Queensland won, and rightly so because they're amazing, when Cameron Munster, who lost his father 10 days, I think, before the second game, and you can see Munster and Slater approach each other, and these men hug and they both start crying and they just let this, they didn't cut away. They let this frame happen. Here's this guy who just played 80 minutes of full terrifyingly violent football, right? And another man who knows exactly what that is and his body is probably full of cortisone, right? It's the only reason he can get out of bed. And they're holding each other and crying. And not one person was like, oh yeah, a bit of emotion there, but like everyone was like, there it is. Like that's what's going to happen. It's a big moment. And it was cool. And I kind of really like that, that we are at a place now where not feel ashamed, not trying to hide our faces from the camera, not feel that we can't do it, but just be. And I thought that was a freaking brilliant thing. Like for all the things we're talking about that are frightening, that moment was like, man, that is, I'm glad that happened.
Yeah. I am deeply optimistic about where things are heading, despite the wins, that are hitting us, that are actually not young men's fault. They didn't create them. No. This is society kind of pinning them. But what you're talking about there is like the spectrum of condoned behavior that is slowly opening up. Federer cried every time. Obama cried. Like within sport and grief, there are certain, and I think we're starting to open that up. But then you look at like Mitch Brown, who's a lovely guy. I've been hanging out with him. Came out as the first openly bi ex-player in the AFL, and he copped it. So I think that we need to, it's two truths, that we are making progress and that we have a deeply ingrained discomfort with the idea that there are multiple ways of being, the idea that masculinity can evolve, can look different, and that we're not telling you there's anything wrong with you, Macca, sitting at home.
Yeah.
This isn't a threat. This is an invitation.
Yeah.
This is an invitation to come and join the brotherhood of, firstly, we're going to fucking live longer.
Yes.
You're going to not, have as many divorces. It's not going to be as violent. You're not going to drink as much. Your kids are actually going to talk to you. There's not a lot of downside here.
Yeah.
Like if you're not making as much, you can talk to your wife about it and you can actually like come up with a plan rather than just internalize it all and, freak out. I just think that as with anything, the same thing with feminism, it doesn't matter. We are not doing a good enough marketing job here.
Yeah.
What do you want? We're going to help you get there.
I've just on sport, there's one more thing. I can't remember his name. He's an Australian college basketball player. There was a press conference.
He's an NFL player in Nebraska.
NFL player, that's right.
Yeah, he's homesick.
NFL player. And they just won the game and he's doing the press conference and they ask him and he goes to answer the question and he just bursts into tears and he's unable to speak. And then he goes, but yeah, that's about it. Any other questions? He just moved on. Like he was
and didn't say sorry over and over again. Yeah.
Didn't explain it. Didn't qualify it.
That one was a new.
Look at me, mate. Yeah. I'm in goosebumps because he's like,
and he was bawling. This wasn't
snot bubbles. Like he was like,
I love my mum and dad,
and cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being here, guys. No worries. It was a completely. That was his answer.
I got a call from CNN that morning and they were like, we'd like to talk to an Australian about Australian emotionality amongst men. And they're like, this is incredible. Yeah. This is an Australian thing. And I was like, you don't understand. Like that is such an outlier, but it breaks the mold. And again, it tells people, but that's a really beautiful way of role modeling. Yeah. He doesn't need to be a role model. He doesn't need to be the guy. Nah. His behavior is the thing.
Yeah.
And that's in the doing, in the showing, in the same way that fathering is about the ing. Yes. It's about the verbing. It's about the doing. Yeah. It's not about like, oh, dad's got a good job and I've got this thing in the back of my head of like, he's my hero versus he shows up, he does the fucking dishes, he does the nappies, whatever it might be, and he doesn't say anything about it. Like that's the doing and that is how you pass down positive manhood to your kids.
When I saw that clip, my first response was like, there's a mum and dad who've ace job, like gold medal, well done. That's
he feels held. He feels safe enough to actually be himself.
And this is the point where you're less than 2 months away from having a child. What are you trying to approach fatherhood with?
Damn. it's funny how when it comes back to me, if I tell someone I'm about to have a kid, it doesn't resonate in my brain.
It's so much easier to tell other people how to do stuff. Trust me.
Someone says it to me, I'm like, is this about to happen? Is this?
Yes, this is the part you get to go through.
Yeah.
I was back on meds by the time I was where you are.
Yeah.
Because this is often when men go, oh, fuck, it's really happening. And there's nothing you can do about it. It's on.
100%.
And you're gonna be there.
I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there. I'm trying to. I've had so many people, and I spoke with Ramsey Syed. You know, that incredible, distinguished gentleman's ride, partners with Movember, best moustache, best motorbike, and he is just so lovely. And he said the other day, he's like, any expectation you have, bin it now. Nothing will happen that you expect, or it will just, it'll blossom in beautiful ways and, be a shitstorm in others. I'm trying to not, I think it's really hard. My wife is a psychologist as well. Like the external pressure that we're going to have this.
You guys must be great when you argue.
Oh man. I hear what you're saying.
Oh my God, no.
I literally never do that. I don't
I just want to validate
like
you right now.
Yeah. No. I'm more of a coach. I'm like, this is how you're fighting with me, but this is what's possible. Why don't we go here? No, we don't do any of that. It's just slam a door and sit in silence.
That's not going to get the dishes done, man.
Everyone's the fucking same. But that idea that we're going to, be more evolved, I think knowledge is power, definitely to a certain extent. It's also when I know what I need to do or how I need to respond, and I don't have the energy or the patience to do so, the knowledge is not necessarily going to be that useful. But when it comes to being a dad, I love the thought of like reprioritization. I'm already feeling it now. The third trimester, we're like third floor walk up. I'm like building a, chair so that Cass can sit halfway up. And that idea of how I show up, what my role is, and leaning into things that have really never been of interest to me, like patience. Like impatience has gotten me where I am. Being a hustler, working like a dog, meeting everyone, saying yes to every trip, every podcast, everything. And now to go stability and sameness, monotony is beauty. Is shit scary, but I'm up for it for sure. And so I think that I'm most looking forward to, I'm like, the reason I am a psychologist is because I'm obsessed with human behavior. I'm like, why do they do that? Why is it? And it's like obso humor, and some people find it fucking annoying. But my therapist said to me, the first 5 years of this kid's life is like your sweet spot because you can tell him everything. And they get later on and they're not going to listen to you. But that idea of like molding life is the greatest thing that I could ever imagine, let alone I'm grappling with the fact that I've got 2 nieces, that idea of like caring and nurturing for a young girl feels much more natural to me. I've never felt that type of like soft love for another man. And so to be able to be reparented by my own child, and be able to see that I can love a man. I love my mates, but it's going to be a very different like ride or die situation. And I'm fully up for everything just being exploded. Like that sounds fun to me.
Knowing what I know about, I used to work on the board at Sane Australia, and knowing how dangerous it is to be a young man in Australia. When I found out we were having a boy, I really struggled because I've seen fucking terrible pub violence in my time.
Yeah.
I've seen, people end up, they just make one dumb decision and then, that's it. I don't see them again. And it's terrifying. Things that are completely beyond your control, out of your control. Knowing what you know about, developmental psychology and men's mental health and things that happen in schools and stuff like that. Is there a part of you that's like, oh, just accepting that I've got no control of it. Or as a part of you is like, I know exactly what I do here. Like, where are you?
Yeah. It's funny because when we found out the gender, that's very much a time where I think it becomes real and you're like, oh my God, this is a thing. And it's,
It's when you see the blue smoke coming off the burnout. That's when you know.
You know me. I'm real big on gender reveals. Yeah.
We had one. It was awesome.
The basketball, it exploded. No. But the Cass said, it's so funny, just in line with what you're saying. She goes to me, she just breathed a sigh of relief. And she goes, oh, he's going to be okay. Because her belief system is that men just get by.
Wow.
That the way in which they move through the world is far safer. For me, I'm like, what the fuck? Have you seen the stats?
Oh, God.
And I understand from like a day-to-day basis, we see, but from a decision-making, internalized situation, girls live longer.
Mm-hmm.
They make better decisions long-term. Their health is better. Their education, they're better at school.
I don't think your wife has been in the boot of an airborne Mazda 626 out the back of Belbarry, with 8 other dudes in that car because it was a great idea.
For sure. She said to me, I just don't want him to jump off some high cliff somewhere.
Oh, that's the first thing he's going to do.
Yeah, I know. I was like, mate, that's all I did. It was the best thing ever. But I think that I really don't want to be that guy who knows something and so goes, we're going to turn off all of these parts of you. You can't possibly go and do all of those things because then he doesn't actually get socialized, and risk is important. But if I can actually do it with him, I think that's where it's at. Like having the physicality, going and doing the things, whatever. I'm pretty excited about that. I am concerned about the socialization process. I think I will inject myself, as I kind of said, with other dads and try and show up in a hands-on way to show them what, I think is possible. But the way in which they interact is fundamentally out of my control and is going to do dumb shit like we did dumb shit.
Oh, of course, that's how you learn anything.
But it's how you can minimize the really crazy stuff.
When I see the other dads that Wolf goes to school with and the other dads that I'm around, Dad's pretty switched on, and so the hope, I guess, that I would have for both our kids is that the cohort of kids that are coming up now, they've been raised in response to all the stuff that you guys have been doing research around for kids who are now 15, 16, or 17, 18. But the fathers who are raising their young boys now are like, well, fuck, no, I don't want that. And so they are hands-on. They are in there. Halloween the other night at our joint, we live in one of the one's in Petersham, one's in Mossman.
Yeah.
Like there's some streets that are just bonkers. We live in one of those streets. Like dads who are like another Sarjo boy with their son or with their daughter. Like they are in the K-pop, they're in the gear, they're there. And to be honest, Zach, it's good for my mental health as well. It's great to be out there with other dads and kind of go, oh, great, it's not just me. Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? Because there's no dads groups. There's heaps of mothers groups. There's no dads groups.
Don't get me started. That's something I'll probably aim to blow up. But I think that what you're talking about there is like the 0 to 7-year-old kids. Dads are showing up. There's no doubt about that. The issue is that because, paternity leave is getting better. Everyone's taking time at the start, and it's a really important time. But then they pull back 12 to 18. And that's actually when they need far more time. Like you should take paternity leave. You should take six months of leave when they're 13, 14 and go and like spend time with them, take them on a road trip, whatever it might be, because that's when identity development happens in a really different way. That's when the socialization happens, and that's when parents pull out. They go, nah, this is too hectic. You're too moody. The screen can do it for you. Your teachers can do it for you. And they disengage. If we can get that same 0 to 5 for 15 to 20, we'd have a different world.
There's a line that was one of my mates, Stevie, told me. He said to me, oh yeah, they're going to ignore you. You have to be there for them to ignore. You have to be the edge. You have to be the boundary. And it sucks because you never loved anyone like that and they don't want to bar you. And I understand why people go, okay, then fuck off. Yeah. And they just leave. I get that. but it's really hard to take it in the face
Opposite
for a couple
action,
of years.
man. Opposite action.
But that's the job.
Fundamentally, that's the job. But also, it's like that's what we say always at Movember. Like the check-in is the most important thing, and we underestimate what the check-in looks like. It's always like, oh, I sent a message to him, he didn't respond, and I was like, when did you last hear from him then? And he was like, oh, 3 months ago. And I'm like, no. When did you misunderstand that consistency is key? You must be able to understand that rejection of him not responding to you, that doesn't tell you anything about yourself. That's nothing that you need to internalize about having failed. What you're doing in the same way that you're showing up at dinner and they're not looking you in the eye, they're not talking or responding to you, because down the line, when they've got some sinister fucking guy online freaking them out, ready to take their money and send nudes, whatever it might be, they know that you're there that night. In the same way that your mate who is suicidal and is sitting at home on his own, but you've sent him a message every week at a Thursday morning, he knows it's coming and this time he's going to tell you, I'm not all right.
Yeah, right.
Just, I don't know when the social fabric fell away and we had like needs-based communication. Don't show up in moments of crisis. In the same way, I don't want to see you as a therapist when you can't get out of bed. I will, and you end up always doing that crisis intervention, but I would rather see you when you're well. I want to see my mates when they're well, and I want to tell them when shit hits the fan, I got you. And you need to do the same thing with kids consistently, because that's where they get this understanding that they have an emotional crutch that they can lean on when they need it.
Knowing what you know about the state of mental health in Australia, men's mental health in Australia, are you optimistic?
I really do think that we're on the verge of a revolution, and that requires that we stop talking about young guys and start talking with them. So for instance, now, finally at Movember, we've got a youth advisory council, a YAC. Once a month, we're going to meet with them. We're going to say, we're doing this. What do you reckon? And they say, that sucks. That's not how we talk. That's not the way to do things. I am very optimistic that if we walk around our neighborhoods, dads are doing the pickup, dads are cooking, like we're shifting some of these norms. It's just consistency. It's just making sure that we do this day in and day out, and that we do the modeling, and that we also talk about it more broadly with our mates. I don't think that like you sit around at the pub and the banter is awesome. This is the thing. I don't want to get rid of it. The other day I went away with my mates for a weekend, a dad stag, if you will, and the ability to move so quickly between the light and the dark, I think, is the greatest thing about like Australian masculinity. Being able to move from a guy who's just lost his dad and then be able to make jokes 10 minutes later and then come back to it. We're not just going to leave him hanging because we know it's raw, but he needs to look away. And I think that the more we can have those types of conversations, I don't want these dark mental health conversations in a corner where it's like, what do you need? How are we going to do it in the same way that we're having every other chat, and you just filter it through. And so I've got faith that guys want to be a part of a movement for change. They're not happy with how things are. And I just hope that we have that precipice where things topple over and they go, I'm not going to blame everyone else for my problems. I'm going to like grab the bull by the horns and go, I got this. I can do something different.
Just before we go, you mentioned something about, I just would like to kind of leave a bit on this, the idea of manhood being a reversal of from the self to the other. What are some qualities? What are the verbs that looks like for people, so they can kind of get their head around what that is like in reality?
Yeah. Well, it's about showing up. It's about cooking. It's about cleaning. But it's about crying because someone else is hurt, not just because you're hurt, It's about sitting with your kid in the pain and not trying to fix it. It's about realizing that you don't need to suffer in order to be the protector and provider. And I think that that's where we've lost sight of what masculinity can and should be, rather than going, oh no, I've got to look after my family and therefore I'm not going to look after myself because going to see a therapist is money that could go to rent or is time that could go to my job, whatever it might be. Instead, realizing that self-destruction is at odds with the other and that you don't need to put yourself first. That's not what we're asking for. It's just respecting self in order to value others. And I think that lots of guys go, oh, if I just push my own needs down, that's good manhood. My own emotions, my own needs, my own, thoughts and feelings. If I push those down, then others won't suffer. But it bleeds out of you.
Yeah, we can stick it out for a while, but eventually that cortisol will. There's a reason why heart disease is the number one killer in Australia. I know we spoke a lot about mental health, but like there's
100%.
there's that and so many other things that are
And you eat your feelings,
terribly,
you drink like shit,
yes.
like all of this stuff. It externalizes because you haven't listened to it,
Mm-hmm.
you haven't valued it, you haven't spoken about it. So I don't want these warm and fuzzy chats. We can have hard-hitting, real, manly fucking conversations about stuff
Mm-hmm.
that go, I need this. I got to do this so that next weekend when my wife goes away, I'm actually not going to fall apart when my kids ask me what's up.
And I know this is a long conversation that's happened all around two guys with real bumfluff mustaches, but
we should have done this at the end of the month.
but no, it's too late then.
Yeah.
I think this is the real brilliance of what was it, the Garoni and Falcon and the Trent and I can't remember the other founders. Oh, this is silly thing going on with this person standing in front of me, and I ask them the question, and they say, "Oh, it's this," and now you're there, and now you're having that conversation.
It's teleportation. Like it gets you there so quickly, and it's the banter. It's that light and dark. It's like, oh, here's this dumb thing. Let's talk about male suicide. Like it's a wild thing to walk into community events and have these constantly fluctuating conversations. It's incredible. Everyone's attempted to model it. They've all failed. We've got the good shit going, and we're just going to keep rolling because this is the issue of our times. Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
I'm so stoked that you're going to have a baby, mate. It's the best thing ever.
I'll bring him next year when we do this again.
Get some sauna sessions in the next couple of weeks because,
100%.
Pretty soon the most exciting thing in the universe will be in your house, and you really won't want to go anywhere because you're like, well, no, look, this is here. Look at this. It's amazing.
Yeah. Maybe we should give these 13-year-olds just newborns to look at instead of screens.
Oh, we did that in the Bachelor episode once. It was real fun. They were battery operated, but they weed and pooed and it was pretty fun. Thanks for coming in, Zach.
Thanks for having me, man.
Appreciate it, man.